Dr. Stevens Hawkins, the professor at Cambridge, he seemed to be getting jokier and jokier as he lives older and older, getting closer to death. Now, I believe that basically he's getting a pass because he's disabled. And I'm not sure if what he's talking makes sense and whether it's a sign of intellectualism or just a sign of his handicap. Now, being a handicapped person and start talking crazy like this, I know that people are amused at his kind of creative malarkey, and so we start to listen to him more and more, and it's more and more bizarre he's getting. Now, as a British person, I know that he has a specialized education. If he's doing biology, that's all he studied. If he did mathematics, that's all he studied. Now, that studies into, it might be astrophysics or whatever, but it sounds more like theology. And recently where he started to talk about aliens, and aliens will harm us, don't get near to them, and they've depleted their resources and they're coming to grab ours and all that. He's kind of going off now on some kind of stupid stuff here. Because usually, although I'm not into his astrophysics, I'm into other things like theology and so forth. And I've studied the beginning of species and the race and whatever, and I know that basically his talking is getting off right now. Now, for you to understand and talk about aliens, you have to get into theology, because God created the world, and in it we learned of people going from outer space and coming here, like Moses when he and Elijah appeared to Jesus on the Mount of Olives and so forth. They came from heaven, and perhaps this is what you might call UFOs or whatever. But let me put this matter straight with some theological understanding. Earth was not an original thought of God. It's an afterthought. In other words, God had a perfect universe going with harmony, etc. But when Lucifer decided to rebel and steal a third of the angels in heaven, God decided that he has to replace those, so he created earth and put humans here, Adam and Eve, and they were to go ahead with the sex and the reproduction and come up with a population that was equal to what the angels who were sort of disbarred or thrown to heaven, and then they would have gone into heaven and replaced them. So that Satan came out here because they were to replace him, and with vengeance and violence and so forth, he overthrew God's plan, having Adam and Eve to go off on a tangent. Now, God went again and created another world and put some people who by this time now have already passed the test. The devil was not able to persuade them, and they have replaced the devils. So when Hawkins now come in talking about UFOs and so forth, he's trying to project what we do on Earth to the worlds over there. So he's saying that we have to have vehicles to go out to space and to travel from England to America and so forth. Therefore, if UFOs are coming here, they have to have vehicles and so forth. But they're not coming here. This world is not a place that they want to come to, because they live in a perfect world. They don't have hospitals, they don't have fire departments, they don't have jails, they don't have courts, they don't even have handicapped people like him. And so why would they come from a perfect world to this imperfect, blemished, dirty, polluted place? They do not consume resources the way we do. Adam and Eve, they were living in a sort of primitive world. It was vegetation and flowers and so forth. They weren't even wearing clothes the way we were. They were wearing a robe of light, so that when they sinned, this robe left them, and then they went on to make fig leaves, and then God decided to give them clothing from animals' skin and so forth. So I'm beginning to find that Professor Hawkins now is going off, and he's talking things that showing when you've done other things that he basically seemed to be misinformed. And then I'm going to come back to find out whether his astrophysics is really correct, or whether he's just kind of mouthing this thing and know he was disabled and to give him a check and give him a life and give him some status. And I appreciate he has been so far, he got a good life and all that stuff. But as soon as you start talking crazy, we have to check him and tell him, look, sir, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Stick to your astrophysics. Because when you get into theology and all that, you have no experience in theology, you have no concept of theology. As a matter of fact, you might be an atheist, or you might be somebody who doesn't believe in God. I mean, if you're a Christian, you won't talk this stuff like Big Bang and all that. You'll believe what the Word of God says. So I'm checking you, Dr. Hawkins. Stop talking crazy like this, because you don't know what you're talking about.